What's going on, guys? In today's episode, we are back in Melbourne. Now, I was not expecting to be back here so soon after the last trip, but today, the guys behind the Vintage and Modern Toy Fair are hosting what might just be the largest toy show ever seen in Australia, and I was not about to miss that. So I'm travelling 500 miles each way to take in the first ever monster-sized Vintage and Modern Toy Fair. Will it be worth it? Let's find out. But first, big shouts to Will and Andrew for hooking us up with a media pass. How about that? And it was really cool to be able to go straight in, chill out in this little media area, make our plan of attack for the day, and wait for the early bird entry to kick off. It immediately dawned on me just how big this show is. 425 tables in total, many of which dedicated to vintage toys. Now, I like to use the early bird hour to do a full sweep of the floor at toy fairs like this, but that was going to be a tough task today, especially with stalls like this stopping me in my tracks. As always, Phil from Outta Time Toys and Collectibles was showing out. My initial plan of attack was to go straight to the far end of the pavilion and then work my way backwards, but I could not walk past this side aspect of Phil's stall where Hulkamania is running wild. The Hulk Hogan foam finger drew me in, and then after having a closer look, I made my first purchase of the day with this amazing 1993 WWF calendar. How cool is that? And if you look in the background, you might be able to see Phil setting up all the items that came tumbling down when he grabbed down this calendar for me. Sorry about that, Phil, but how awesome is this? This 1993 WWF calendar is chock full of some of my childhood favorites. You've got The Undertaker, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. We've got my favorite tag team of my childhood, the Legion of Doom. And this front cover shot of Hulk Hogan just perfectly captures the energy and the color of the World Wrestling Federation of my childhood. And with Hulk Hogan's recent passing, this just seemed like a no-brainer to me, and I'm really stoked I picked it up. Back to the task at hand, we headed straight to the end of the pavilion where a little birdie told me there were some private sellers selling off their personal collections. And here we go, check out this amazing stall hosted by a lovely couple that had amassed an incredible collection of vintage TMNT with lots of boxed TMNT vehicles and playsets, a stack of vintage carded figures, including some of the rarer TMNT figures from the vintage line like Half Court. But this is what I was more interested in, the Lucy's. Now, I don't know if these guys opened these figures up off card or if they painstakingly completed them bit by bit, but most of these figures you can see were complete and in incredible condition. Now, I came into today's show chasing 4 figures to complete the 4th wave of the vintage TMNT line from 1991, and I got off to a great start finding 2 of those figures complete. First, we've got one of the final Sewer Sports figures that I've been chasing. This is Slapshot Leo, complete with his hockey stick, his turtle shell helmet, and annoyingly 3 of these pucks. I suppose props to Playmates for packing in 3 of these tiny pucks back in the day for kids who would have lost them instantly. But for us loose collectors, how annoying is that? But we got them. I bonded up Slapshot Leo with another one of those final few figures from 1991 I've been chasing. This is Headspin and Bebop from the Wacky Action line, which is a sub-series in the vintage TMNT line that I'm totally not fussed on. But the Wacky Action Bebop is so much cooler than the Wacky Action Turtles they released.
Who you calling wacky?
The head spinning gimmick doesn't totally take away from the look of the figure. He's got an awesome head sculpt with the articulated jaw and tongue, kind of similar to Junkyard from the 1991 Toxic Crusaders line, and he's got these removable sunnies and 2 accessories, so he's complete as well. The colour scheme is true to the original Bebop from 1988, just turned up a notch with the blue sneakers and yellow necklace. I was stoked to grab this guy. This stall's also really cool. They had some Fangoria and Famous Monsters of Filmland magazines, which always grabbed my attention, including some complete runs and some key issues, like issue number 1 of Fangoria, which is really cool.
That was their front cover. So having that on their front shelves, there's a rumour went around that they pulled it off.
Is that right?
Too scary. That's number 1.
Yeah, this is amazing.
In America, they're going for about $3,000.
So it's got Starlog Presents on it.
Yep.
Is the poster still inside?
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yep.
And then one of the coolest pieces I saw all day, a sealed 1979 boxed 18-inch Alien figure from Kenner. This is the Canadian version. They also had a loose version next to it. Now, I don't collect for the Alien franchise, but that is just an undeniably classic vintage toy.
Another triumph for Alien.
Alien action figure, new from Kenner.
Dino beat me to this one. A 1991 TMNT tattoo figure complete with the unused sticker sheet. Now my tattoo is a clean skin. He's lost all of his tattoo decals. The decals age horribly on these 35-year-old action figures. So the only way to have a nice pristine version with the tattoos is to open one up off card or find an unused sticker sheet like Dino, the lucky fella. Unused stickers, mate, you're gonna have the cleanest tattoo once you sticker that up.
About that one.
Yeah, you gotta be. There was actually a ton of vintage TMNT all throughout the fair, particularly carded figures. There were a bunch of sellers that had some really nice mint on card figures and also some loose vintage TMNT figures that you don't see as often. I promised myself I wasn't going to start a new collection today, but here we go.
Yeah, these Mondo Blitzers?
The Savage Mondo Blitzers, yeah, these are sick.
Will they be up your alley?
These have been on my radar for a couple of years now. The Blitzers were released by Kenner in 1991, and while I've got no nostalgic connection to these, it's the outlandish concept and aesthetic that's drawn me to this line, which has 9 different gangs of 4-wheeled weirdos.
They're bad to the bone, with a loaded diaper and a Tyrannosaurus axe. They'll make you numchuck. We'd never let our kid have those things. Savage Mondo Blitzers, sold in gangs of 4. Get them before they get you!
You can tell the designers were having fun creating these. The minifigures are cool, but it's the card artwork and that incredible logo that puts it over the top for me. Now the price was right, so I knew I was going to pick up one. I'm going to grab one of these Savage Mondo Blitzer sets. I mean, the figures are wild, but the card art is just next level, but I just don't know which one to get. We've got the Damaged and Deadly gang or the Scars and Spikes gang. What are we going to do? I like the colours here, but that eyeball, yeah, I think I'm going to have to grab this one. If the card artwork was unique to each set of Savage Mondo Blitzers, I probably would have picked up both, but today I settled on the Scars and Spikes gang because it's got 2 characters that feature on the card back with Eye Puss and Kiss My Bat, and I also really love that aping wound figure as well. So I'm content with one of these for now, and this will probably find a home behind some other colourful gross out toys from the late 80s and early 90s in my collection. Here's something I've been on the lookout for a good few years now, the phone booth from the 1991 Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure line by Kenner. Now I've got most of the figures loose and complete, so I've been on the hunt for a loose example of this playset. This one's boxed, so it's priced a little bit higher than I'm willing to pay, but I'm thinking. It was really cool to see a stack of nice, clean LJN Wrestling Superstars figures.
Wrestling Superstars figures. The big names are here and they're ready. It's corner to corner excitement. Match your moves against the other guy. Have your own WrestleMania with all your favorite figures. Because you're in the ring with the WWF Wrestling Superstars figures. Figures, ring and cage sold separately.
Now, I don't collect the LJNs, I'm all about the Hasbro WWF figures which came out after the LJNs. But I find this toy line really underrepresented at the toy fairs that I go to, so I had to stop and take a good look at these LJN Wrestling Superstars. This store was amazing. It had a variety of really cool pieces, lots of vintage Sofubi and other Japanese items, but what I was drawn to were the classic monster pieces. So we had a 1980 Remco Universal Monsters mummy figure, the larger 9-inch version, sealed in as nice a window box as I've seen for this toy line. This was beautiful. Then even rarer, a Canadian version of the 1969 Aurora Frightening Lightning model kit of the mummy, as well as a boxed Ben Cooper monster costume and mask, all stunning pieces but a touch out of my budget for today. We finished the first lap with a look at the Uncle T's toy store. Yep, Tony B and Loz made the trip south of the border and they did not disappoint. The guys bought sealed and carded pieces from lines like Silverhawks, Visionaries and Mask. They also had a stack of Ring Raiders, both carded sets and loose items from the Ring Raiders line, including this Battle Blaster, a massively nostalgic piece from my childhood, which I definitely would have picked up if I didn't already have complete in-box versions of both the Ring Raiders and Skull Squadron Battle Blasters. But that was just so cool to see and have in hand. And check out this Crash Dummies electric toothbrush. That brought us round for lap 2, so it was time to take a closer look at Outta Time toys and collectibles. Earlier we saw that end facing of Phil's store, which was a shrine to Hulk Hogan, but that wasn't all he had in the way of wrestling. He had everything from WWF Valentine's Day cards to Hulk Hogan sticker books, Ultimate Warrior slipper socks, and more. To go with the Ultimate Warrior slipper socks, get a load of this vintage World Wrestling Federation Ultimate Warrior jacket. Absolute fire. Speaking of wrestling, it wasn't until my second go around that I spotted a stall that had a bunch of carded WWF Hasbro figures. First I spotted this Series 2 Hulk Hogan with the Hulkster Hug, one of my favourite toys as a kid, as well as this beautiful red card Yokozuna figure. Then the seller pointed out a bunch more they had behind the table. The Hacksaw Jim Duggan, that's cool.
Warrior.
Wow, that's from Series 1, that's cool. Oh, the Undertaker. Yep, one of my childhood favourites. That's a cool figure. Lex Luger. Very nice.
That's about it.
Mate, they're beautiful. I had to ask, but unfortunately no loose WWF Hasbro figures, but still it was really cool to see a bunch of beautiful mint on card Hasbros, including that green card 123 kid. That's a big ticket piece right there. At this point, I circled around to take a closer look at the stall that had all the boxed, carded, and loose turtles, and they also had a stack of other beautiful box pieces from other vintage toy lines, like the hideous hovercraft from Toxic Crusaders and a beautiful boxed Boulder Hill from Mask. I was keen to take advantage of a lull in traffic to go through all those loose complete vintage TMNT figures that I wasn't able to get to earlier, and there were a bunch. There were a few figures that I spotted that I'm still chasing, including the 1992 Toon Leo, as well as another version of Leonardo, the movie 3 version, which I still don't have. I was thinking about that. Then I spotted a complete Machine Gun and Rocksteady, the third of those 4 figures that I've been chasing to complete the 4th wave. And I bonded up the Machine Gun and Rocksteady with Toon Leo, and we've got 2 more complete vintage TMNT figures to add to the collection. So Toon Leo is the 3rd I've picked up in the quartet of Toon Turtles. He's complete with his katana blades, as well as some of the more unique accessories for the Toon subline, like the Turtle Communicator, the pizza disc, and the little lenticular Toon TV. I'm stoked to have the wacky action versions of both Rocksteady and Bebop now in my collection. I mentioned earlier that I'm really not loving the wacky action Turtles that were released in like 1990, but these 2 figures are really cool. They've got amazing head sculpts, they've got tons of character, and the wacky action Rocksteady came with both of his guns, which have little tusks on them, and then this really cool accessory, this spiked skull glove. I love that. I then spotted a stall that had some vintage Coca-Cola movie cups at bargain prices. I spotted this Coca-Cola Dick Tracy cup from the 1990 movie for $3. I could not say no to this. I'll display this with my Playmates Dick Tracy figures.
Son 6 villanos diferentes. Identifícalos y atrápalos. Con Coca-Cola, vive la sensación.
I probably should have also grabbed this Batman 1989 cup for a $5, but I left this one for another collector. So having a chat with a seller that I've met a couple of times now, Scott, I spotted some carded figures from a vintage line that I really wasn't familiar with, Creepy Crawlers. These were released by Toymax in 1994.
Gotta get the magic maker away from Guggenheim.
With Shockeroach, Squirminator, and Spooky Goopy by my side, I will control the Creepy Crawlers forever!
Creepy Crawlers action figures each sold with a bonus mold to make weapons in your Creepy Crawlers workshop, sold separately from Toymax.
As tempting as they are, I'm not game to venture down yet another rabbit hole, but these are really cool. this point, it's time to grab any final pickups before I have to think about making a move back to the airport. And it's also later in the show, so an opportunity for a little bit more of a haggle. And I had to have a crack at that Kenner Bill and Ted's phone booth. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been on the hunt for a loose version for ages, but it's a piece that I've never seen available for sale here in Australia. Now this version's boxed as you can see, but it's opened and the contents are immaculate. The receiver's actually got a little cable, retractable. You pull it out, hook it around a figure and it pulls them back into the phone booth. The seller offered me a price I was comfortable with and I'm so glad I pulled the trigger. As you can see, it's in immaculate condition. The stickers are all intact and it's complete with the antenna and also the little receiver on the retractable cord that you use to pull the historical figures into the phone booth, a feature that's kind of reminiscent of the play feature on the Ecto-1, also released by Kenner. But above all, it's just an amazing display piece. It's going to look awesome in my collection alongside Bill and Ted, and also the Genghis Khan that I picked up at Lobo's earlier in the year.
That bodacious barbarian Genghis Khan! Yeah, our new pal from old China. Excellent! Let's rock and roll!
The final stop of my day was a last visit to the Uncle T's toy store, where Tony showed me a big lot of vintage Monster in My Pocket that he picked up from the Toy Box Collectibles 2.0 store earlier in the day, which included sealed sets of Monster in My Pocket from Series 2, and also the Super Scaries, which came out a little bit later in the line, and also a complete loose set of the Monster in My Pocket Series 1 figures. But that lot also included an item that he was happy to sell to me, a Monster in My Pocket vintage bum bag. Check that out. Does it get any more 90s than that? I love this thing. Obviously the condition's a bit how you going. As you can see, it's got marks all over it, and it looks like someone's tried to do a DIY job to make it bigger. Unfortunately, it still doesn't quite fit me, but even still, I was really happy to add this to my collection. I've been looking out for it for a while. Sure, I'd love it to be in really nice condition, but I'll take whatever I can get because these things don't really turn up here in Australia too often. And all I'm going to do with this is just get all my spare Monster in My Pocket minifigures, chuck them in here, and sort of hang it off to the side of the shelf, and I think it's going to look awesome. So I'm stoked with that. And Tony also threw in a bunch of Ring Raiders mini comics, which came with the various Ring Raiders wing packs back in 1988, 1989. So I was stoked to find these as well. Big shout out to Tony as always, absolute legend. And with that, it was time to head to the airport and make my flight back to Sydney. But what a day. Will, Andrew and the rest of the team behind the event did a bang up job hosting the first ever monster-sized vintage and modern toy fair, and I'm already looking forward to the next installment of the event at Melbourne Showgrounds in August of 2026. But I feel pretty confident that I'm going to make a full weekend of it next time, so I don't have to start my day on the wrong side of 4 AM. So if you're a collector of all this sort of stuff that I'm into and more, all the stuff that you've seen in this video, I definitely recommend penciling that in your calendar next year. Like I mentioned after the Giants I show a couple of videos ago, I love the fact that these events are dedicated toy fairs. Like sure, you've got your share of trading cards, you've got your comics, you've got your retro video games and those other sort of associated collectibles, but the bulk of what you see is dedicated to toys, with a large chunk being vintage, and that suits me to a T. So congratulations to Will and Andrew. Big shouts once again to those boys for the media pass. I really do appreciate it. Big thank you to Dean and Sarah from Totally Tailored Retro Hunters for their awesome company as always. Make sure you go check out their video of today's event. I'll put a link to that in the description below. But that'll do us for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you made it this far, you're a dead set champion. I hope to hear from you in the comments or on Instagram at Crusher Collects. I'll see you back soon for the next one, and until then, cheers.